Good evening, folks. Let me figure out my sound levels here. I think that's probably perfect. Good evening, folks. My name's Zach. You're watching Arclight's Happy Little Painting Session number 5, I believe. It is going to be a night of trains. Hooray. Going to be working on some monorail cars from Brigade Models in the UK. Really cool little kits. I wish I did have the freight engine, but at the time that I bought these back in, I believe 2020, way back when I was first really diving into miniature painting, I picked all these up. They just didn't have the freight engine at the time. All they had were the passenger car freight, or I guess the passenger car engines, engine cars. I guess that would be what they are called. But anyways, go ahead and hop over to the painting desk, and we will get going. Alrighty. Believe we're good to go here. I think the audio level should be okay. Just let me know in the chat if anything's out of whack. It's always the best way to get my attention. Okay. So as you can see, I've already got a few colors laid out on my palette here. I've got some chocolate brown, I've got some bloodstone from P3, and then here I've got some black ink, followed by a bit of black gray from Vallejo, as well as this is basalt gray, also from Vallejo. I've also got a bit of a mix of a wash in here. So what this is going to be 4 drops of the Vallejo Game Color black wash, followed by 3 drops of the Strong Tone from Army Painter. So it's a 4-to-3 mix, and then I also add 5 drops of Flow Improver. That's just Vallejo Airbrush Flow Improver. Just helps to kind of make it run off into all the recesses. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of apply this all over the engine car. The reason why I want to do that is I want to tint this a little bit and kind of darken those recesses, and then when I kind of finish, I'm going to go over and try to wick some of the excess off of the panels. That way I don't have like splotchiness or anything like that. So not really a pin wash or anything like that, but trying to keep the majority of the wash off of the panels in the end. But I do want a little bit of a wash going over top of the panels just to tint them lightly. Just going to go ahead and add a little bit of water to this mix too. We're really going to push this. It'll be rather fast. That way when I come back and start wicking off of the panels, I'm not getting tide marks or coffee stain marks, depending on what your preferred vernacular or terminology is. And adding just a little bit of water to your brush is always a good way to help kind of ease some of that wash off the panels. Just kind of rinsing this brush and getting the wash out of it. Actually, no, I'm not going to go to the wash yet. I'm going to try to wick some of this excess while it's still wet. And as you can see, it's kind of filled in those very, very shallow, small panel lines in between these panels just a little bit. And it's kind of given everything a bit of a slightly weathered, dirtier look. And that's exactly what I'm going for here. Just going to go ahead and kind of touch my clean brush to the sides here. On some of these I might have to kind of wipe a little bit. Again, just adding a little bit of water to the brush can sometimes kind of help that. That way you're not leaving tide marks. It's pretty good. Just going to make sure all of this seems even. I'm going to end up darkening this bottom section anyways, so I'm probably going to use a little bit of contrast paint for that, but I'm going to wait for this wash to dry first. That's pretty good. Nothing crazy. Oh, I do got to hit this backside. I just realized that. It's a good thing we did the little 360 here. That could have been awkward. And I do have a little bit of a tide mark on the side there. I'm just wiping it a little bit excessively with a very moist brush that has a lot of wash, so it kind of scrubs that tide mark away. But that should be good enough. Once this is dry, I'm going to come back and gently dry brush all of this, and then I'm going to use the contrast paint over the bottom section just to get it nice and gray with some very basic color modulation and shading. Okay. I'm also going to do the same on these cars. Now these are the slightly rusty, like the flatbed and the tanker car. Kind of the reddish undertones, reddish brown. Go ahead and drop the brightness on this just slightly. I think that might be a bit better. Maybe once more. Might be. No, I think that's probably good. Might be too dim. I'm gonna bring it back up. Yeah, I think we're better off there. I'm gonna probably go ahead and add the contrast paint to the bottom of this as well, because it's the bottom of the cars has very much the same tone as the top, and I want that to be just a little bit darker. Not necessarily because it's more realistic, just because I want just a little bit more variation visually. I'm going to go ahead and add some of this wash to this yellow car, and I'm just going to add a little bit of water to the brush. I just want to do this because the recesses are a little bit bright, and especially on this flatbed I just want it to look a little bit darker and more weathered. We'll be using some, got a little hair there from the brush, pull that off. I'm going to be using an enamel wash at some point on this, so I don't need this to be super dark. I just want to gently fill the recesses with a darker tone and kind of move on. I'm going to do the same along the bottom. Just touching it into that wash and then swiping across. Just a gentle tinting, honestly. Get that back in frame. There we go. just kind of filled those recesses, and because this is actually fairly thinned, when this dries, it's not going to be quite as dramatic. So, yeah. I'm also going to apply the wash to the green, as well as the blue cars, just so I can kind of recess shade a little bit. And it'll also help to tint these and dirty them up a little bit. I'm going to go back in and do more stipple work and weathering work, so it's all good. I'm going to start with the top. Just going to kind of wick a little bit of that up with my brush, some of that excess, and pull it over there. I do like using this wide, like slightly wider chisel brush, just because there's a lot of flat panels, kind of long, wide surfaces. This just, helps speed up the process. And if I was doing this with, pardon me, if I was doing this with something like a round brush, I have the potential for like leaving streaks and whatnot along the sides, whereas using this, it's just less likely that is going to happen. So. Normally I would apply decals and whatnot before applying all this kind of weathering, but I'm gonna apply the decals and then just do more weathering over top of them to tie them in to the rest of the paint job. Don't always have to do things the same way, as long as you have kind of a viable alternate, but I just feel like doing this right now as opposed to taking time to varnish and do all that good shit. Okay, it's pretty good to go. Just gonna grab that initial car that we were working on. So as you can see, this is like very gently darkened. Unfortunately, those panel lines are so shallow that they're just not taking up a lot of wash, so that's totally fine. I'm gonna go ahead and dry brush this after it's completely dry anyway, and I'm probably literally just gonna go in and trace those lines with some thinned down black ink. And that'll just, give the impression that there's actual panel lines there, because the wash just is, not sitting in there because there's just not enough depth. Just an unfortunate part of their cast. Oh well. Anyways, I'm going to move on to this one. This will be a relatively dramatic change on the blue. The green already had a lot of shaded variation with the brown undercoat, so the blue was more so just blue and a little bit of blue-gray. So this is going to desaturate the blue quite a bit and darken it. That's totally fine. In fact, that's what I want. Finally ended up getting that little piece of blue paint in my brush that was floating around in my wash. I knew that was going to happen at some point. I was just too lazy to pluck it out. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and rinse my brush and then add just a little bit of water, and I'm just Gonna come along a few areas. I think the top's okay. Honestly, this side's doing pretty decent as well. Just gonna even that out. Don't really think I need to mess with this one too much. I'm gonna let the wash work its magic. Now the beauty is this, or the beauty of this rather, is all the kind of ruddy brown weathering that we put on there is darkened. So now we can actually go back in with the brighter ruddy brown, the Bloodstone P3, and add even more marks of, you know, rusty chipping and all that good stuff. Along with, you know, some other edge work and stuff that I'm gonna do a little bit rather. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and grab the contrast paint. Zoom out. All right. Ever used panel liner? Tamiya. I have not used Tamiya panel liner, but I have used enamel panel liners. I do like them. I also like using oils, but I'm just using this wash because it's convenient and it dries relatively quickly. What's being painted on a train? This first few minutes. Yeah, so these trains are just, I have like a monorail set from Brigade Models. I have part of it that I actually use, like the train station and a rail section and the passenger cars, as well as one of these in the background of one of my photo stages, my urban photo stage with kind of the sunset, the train and everything. That's another portion of this set. This is just the freight section, and unfortunately I don't have the freight engine because, as I was mentioning earlier, at the time that I bought this set like 3 or 4 years ago, they just didn't have the freight engine cars available at the time. So the set came with 2 of these. It is what it is. I'm gonna order one of the freight ones eventually. I just use these for scenery and gameplay, and you know, convoy escort type games are actually pretty fun using the trains. So yeah, it's just good fun. I actually have a lot of these cars magnetized, so wrong end, but yeah, they stick together just like so. So it's actually pretty nice for when they're on the monorail itself. But yeah, so I'm gonna use Basilicanum Gray contrast over the bottom sections for this, as well as these. I am gonna thin down the Basilicanum Gray slightly. I'm gonna add just a little bit of airbrush thinner, nothing crazy. I'm gonna put it inside this little pot. It's about time to dunk this in some simple green to get it nice and clean, get all this paint off so I can reuse it a little bit more effectively. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab my airbrush thinner. Okay, just gonna go ahead and, yeah, that's probably good. Go ahead and mix that up. So this is going to be like a super dense, heavy wash or filter at this consistency. It's like almost 50-50 thinner to contrast paint. So I'm definitely not going to be using a super nice brush for this, just because it'll be kind of harsh. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this one just because it's a little bit thinner. Oops, got a little bit of water on there. Let's zoom this in. Just try to follow this deep groove on this side using my brush. Got a bit of a hook tip on this brush because it's quite old. But it's good for just kind of sloppy work like this, where I don't need to be like super accurate. I just got to kind of follow a very distinct line. And I'm just going to hit the back side of this. Okay. There we go. Now it's like a good like mid-tone gray. I'm gonna go ahead and dry brush the top of this once this is all kind of dry, with like a bit of a brighter mid-tone gray and then kind of a light tone gray, somewhere in between like a light gray and an off-white, just to really hit those edges. Yeah. And then I'll go ahead and block in some of the details like the windows and all that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process. You know, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the wider chisel brush just because it seemed pretty effective on the wash. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat that process on the bottom here. Just keep dragging it to the side, letting the shape of the brush kind of do the work. And that's actually pretty deadly. Covers the whole thing pretty quick. Boom. And I'm going to hit the back side over here before I do the other end. I'm just going to go ahead, just touch the end of my chisel brush into the little contrast paint wash consistency I've created. And once this is dry, you'll kind of see that some of the red tone that was present, that we're painting over, is still going to show through along some of this area, but it's going to be a lot more subtle. So that way, once I dry brush a little bit, there's going to be quite a contrasting difference between the let's get that to focus, between the top half of the car and the bottom half. And we'll go ahead and do that for this car too. Hit the long side first, I think. And then I'll hit the ends. Kind of see I just kind of crudely glued magnets onto / into the ends. I'm actually repainting these. These were painted kind of crudely before, as again I got these back when I was just kind of getting into like really diving into painting about 4 years ago. So I ended up stripping these, but didn't remove the magnets. So they don't look best, but it is what it is. These aren't going to be like competition level or display level. They're just meant to be on a tabletop and look good, but I'm just going to go ahead and darken the bottom slightly on this, just to create a very subtle contrast between the top and the bottom here. And just to make sure I use up the last of this wash that I've made, because I hate being wasteful. Alrighty. This guy's almost dry, almost completely. It's just a couple areas in some of these little recesses and on the bottom that are not quite dry yet, but that's okay. I'm going to dry brush the bottom with a bit of the basalt gray, probably, that I have on my palette. Maybe probably a mix of the basalt gray and the black gray, but that's not in focus at all. Yeah. Hydration check for everybody in the chat. This dehydration is a soldier's worst enemy. Not drinking anything fancy, just water, and I've also got a sugar-free Red Bull because I'm a tired new dad, so I'm gonna drug myself up with this thing. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and brush on just a little bit of gloss varnish on this thing. And then, because I do want to throw some decals on this stream, I am going to need to I'm going to need to gloss varnish all these. I'm going to go ahead and quickly brush some onto this bad boy, show you how to do that. And then hopefully by the time I do that car, this will be dry. I can quickly dry brush this. And then I can go ahead and dry brush a couple other things and then gloss varnish the rest of this stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my AK gloss varnish, give this a good shake. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this. Just because I have some clean pots here. Drop that there. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to very, very lightly thin this down with a little bit of water. So I'm just using a pipette here. Nothing fancy. Just throwing like 4 drops in there, 4 drops of water. I'm just gonna go ahead and leave this right here. I'm just gonna gently kind of mix this. I'm just adding the water because I want it to, want to thin this down very gently. And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of wipe the whole thing along the sides. Just a nice thin layer, and I'm kind of doing it this way. That way it dries relatively quickly, so I can apply my second layer relatively quickly. I'm going to do either side, like the long side, and I'm going to go ahead and do the ends. And if you end up with like some minor bubbles along the sides, just gently blow on the sides, and you should be able to get rid of any of those little bubbles that form. If you end up with like a ton of excess gloss on your panels or anything like that, definitely wick that away, or else you're going to end up with some very unwanted like globular texturing. Go ahead and apply it everywhere. So just to kind of dispel any mystery on what my thought process is going to be here. So once I do my respective dry brushing on those other pieces and then get all of these gloss varnished, I'm going to quickly cut out a handful of decals, like warning signs, stuff like that. I'm going to apply them and use some setting solutions so you folks can kind of see my process for using those. It's pretty quick and easy. It's not that difficult by any means. And once those are set, which shouldn't take too long because we are working through a number of cars. That's kind of the beauty with batch painting. Once you get to the last miniature, the first one you were working on is usually dried, cured, what have you. So this side's kind of half dry right now. It's only partly glossy. Definitely going to need a second coat on that, but that's totally fine. But yeah, once these all the decals are set, I'm going to go ahead and seal them in gloss again, and then once they're sealed, I'm going to apply an enamel wash to pretty much everything. Do a bit of cleanup, and then kind of let that dry. Yeah. I think the only one I'm not going to apply an enamel wash to the entirety of is this one. I'm going to be kind of picky and choosy about how I apply my enamels and other weathering things on this. And then that way, once I apply all the enamel stuff on the other things, we can work on the details on this thing. This is dry, so I'm going to go ahead and apply my gloss varnish to this. I'm going to go ahead and change playlists real quickly here. Alright, should be a lot better. Not that there's anything wrong with the Diablo lo-fi playlist that I always like starting the stream off with, but it loops itself twice over on the actual audio files, so I don't like listening to it for too long. I just find it gets a little bit monotonous and repetitive. I already got the other end there. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the top side here. And on the top side here, I'm just going to kind of try to wick away all the stuff that's in the corners there because I don't want it piling up in the corners. And all the bubbles that were on there are gone now. Just got to blow on them. Kind of go all over these sides and just kind of tidy up a few areas. All that excess that's pooling, just trying to make sure it gets dealt with before it dries. So we're probably good for everywhere else. Go ahead and repeat the process on these. Pardon my head and hair getting into frame. Trying to meet my miniature somewhere in the middle when I bring it in to blow on it. Just have a little cluster of bubbles that were in the corner there I couldn't get rid of. Just trying to wick some of this excess away from the recesses in the back rather. accessing these sides. I want to try to get away. I don't need to get rid of all of it, but just all that. I don't need it looking blue from varnish piling up. I'd rather do 2 or 3 thin coats than glob all this on and have detail lost. I do have a little bit piling up in this other one here. I'm just going to see if I can gently wick some of that out of the corners. There we go. That's kind of one thing that I like to be is attentive whenever I'm doing washes or varnish work like this, where I'm kind of brushing it on. Through the process of capillary action, surface tension, and gravity, you're going to end up with some, liquid moving around on its own on your miniature when you're putting it on in large amounts like this. So it's always good to just kind of pay attention to pieces you were just working on occasionally every few minutes, just to see if you have any weird pooling or anything like that forming. I've definitely saved a few projects from looking pretty bad. Just by being attentive in that manner. Just something to consider when you're painting. It is difficult though, especially if you got a lot going on, just in your actual painting environment. Oh, and I'm just noticing now I have a hair like that has glued itself into this paint job. That's fantastic. That's okay. We'll camouflage it with other things. It's not that obvious right now, but I'm noticing it because I'm applying gloss varnish. It's got like this little ridge when you shine this thing in the light the right way. It's definitely a struggle having 3 cats and a dog, trying to keep hair out of your paint projects. How's it going, Werewolf? So this is basically dry now. I think there's a tiny little bit inside there that's not, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of set this aside briefly, and I'm going to get this dry brushed. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some of that. You know what? For this, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little bit of the light gray from Vallejo. Pardon my head, I'm just reaching for a makeup brush back here on my rack. There we go. Seems like it's in pretty good condition. Nice soft bristles. Just grabbing some of that light gray. And doing the old-fashioned way that Artist Opus hates. And I'm just getting this off paper towel. I'm going to be super gentle. I'm not applying any pressure right now, because I don't want this to streak whatsoever. I just need this to be relatively subtle. I'm going to come in and kind of manually edge highlight a few areas. Just trying to give myself a little bit of a cheat for the first bit. That way these hard edges kind of pick up some gentle edge highlights on their own. Getting just a little bit more on my brush so I can hit hit these areas. Applying just a little bit more pressure now. Very subtle, but just kind of picking up some of those edges and the raised panels. And I'm going to go ahead and grab just a little bit of, so this is Vallejo Model Air white gray. It's actually got a little bit of warmth to it. I'm going to go ahead and drop this down, and I'm going to go ahead and put another drop of light gray right beside it, and back this up just so you folks can see what I'm doing. Basically put it right where the light gray was. I'm just gonna get a little bit of a clog in this. I'm gonna do the smart thing here and not squeeze my bottle too hard here. I'm gonna go ahead and unclog it the smart way. And that's totally fine. Just drop that back. Just drop that one single drop. Go ahead and kind of get just a little bit of both. I'll just use my wet palette as my area so I can kind of mix. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up a lot of that white gray. It should be relatively brighter. Still seems very mid-tone-ish, which is kind of what I want. Zoom this back in for those first few hits. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of adjust this lamp slightly. Let's zoom this in. So it's just very, very subtle, but it's hitting these edges and brightening them up nicely. Got a little bit of minor streaking on that one spot, but that's okay. Really kind of focusing on the front to back as well as the top down. Now it's so just to explain my thought process, the reason why I went with the mid-tone, like the more mid-tone gray on the first one as opposed to just going straight to this color, is if I was just to go straight to this color, I have the potential for a more chalky look, whereas going with that darker mid-tone gray that's closer to the majority color that was already on here, that just helps to kind of give a good base to the highlights that I actually wanted to add on here. So, and now that I've added all this, I'm probably going to add just a little bit more of the white gray to that mix to brighten it up even further. And apply just a very, very gentle dry brush using this mix. Yeah, so this is going to be considerably brighter, so I really want to make sure I get most of this off of my dry brush. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit kind of the front here first. Again, kind of really pulling front to back. And then top down. And I'm being very gentle with how much pressure I put here. Very, very minor pressure. Just kind of hitting the top end of the back there. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse off this dry brush. So that's pretty pretty decent. I don't need to push it too much further. I'm gonna use just a normal sable brush with some pure sky gray. I want to go back towards this later on in the stream. And that's going to be how I kind of gently edge highlight particular areas that I want to add some wear marks, and then I'm going to go ahead and kind of pencil / stencil in the panel lines just manually with a little bit of thin down black ink or dark gray paint on these very faint panel lines that are hardly existing but do in fact exist. Okay. This is just about dry. This is just about dry. Okay. This is essentially dry. I'm going to go ahead and grab my gloss mix. Now, no, I'm not going to add this quite yet. I'm going to try to maximize my use out of this existing amount that I have mixed up in here. I'm just going to kind of stir it around just in case some of that thinner has separated. And I'm going to go ahead and apply the second layer. I'm going to start first with the top. I don't really need to go too much into the recesses right there because, you know, some of it just naturally kind of pools in there. So those areas are fairly well glossed. I'm going to really focus on the flat panels, especially on the sides here. This is nice and thin, and the airbrush thinner kind of helps everything glide along the surface as it is. So with the existing gloss layer that I've already put, this second layer spreads out very, very nicely, but it is crucial that you do have it thin slightly. That just kind of helps the whole process. Just kind of blowing bubbles out on the ends here, just because I kind of slapped it all over, agitated the mix quite a bit, just with my brush bristles. So I've got a lot of bubbles that were forming in the recesses, but things seem pretty good to go now. Go ahead and hit along the bottom here. Just seemed like it hadn't really gotten much of a second coat. I'm going to come back along here, and I'm not going to hit that any further. You got to be very careful when you're doing this, that you, especially with the gloss, that you don't end up going over gloss that is still wet or partially dry, because if you do, you're going to end up creating like grooves with your brush strokes, and no amount of paint or gloss is going to get rid of it. You're going to eventually or inevitably have it in the end result of your paint job. It just does not look good. So less is more, and if you have to do additional thin layers, that's just really the best way to do it. A big part of me is debating painting in these side doors quickly. That way I can add some warning signs to them with my decals. I might do that before I go ahead and gloss varnish these. I think we're going to do that right now. Making a decision on the fly. I think, probably something utilitarian. I'm going to go ahead and say just like gray. Doesn't need to be fancy. I'm going to go ahead and grab a brush that can actually do some minor detail work. It's my number one from Vallejo, but it's actually closer to a number two. The other horror, how was Gen Con highlights? Gen Con was good. I hung out with Raymond White, also goes by Crackerbox. He's another Camel Specs artist. Yeah, I stayed at his place for the duration and hung out with him quite a bit. We tossed a lot of dice. We played one of the narrative events that on the Thursday. That was being run by Catalyst. That was pretty fun. It's basically Operation Bulldog. We ended up playing as the Smoke Jaguars, and first game, Smoke Jags won. Second game, Smoke Jags won, but just by the skin of their teeth. First game was fairly decisive. I did not play in that first game. That was just Raymond, simply because I was stuck in the will call line, because like a noob, I did not get my passes mailed to me. I definitely will do that for next Gen Con. But yeah, tossed dice around on the Thursday. On the Friday, just kind of kept my day free and open. I wandered the floor quite a bit. I also hung out with a couple of the Camel Specs guys doing some painting. I was learning how to kind of paint with oils and do oil dry brushing to build light volume and highlights, and basically do airbrush work with oils in a dry brush, like a makeup brush. It's pretty cool. So probably going to start utilizing that a little bit and practicing it, just because it was a very fun way to paint. Felt very organic, and it was super easy. Oils just blend so easily. It's just a very different way to paint than you would paint using acrylics. So yeah, it's very fun stuff. And then Saturday I played in the Battletech Championship circuit. That was Battletech Alpha Strike events. So played in that, came in second just based on points. I had close losses in all three of my games. Yeah, I came in second just based on overall points scored throughout all my games. But yeah, I don't know. It was, yeah, very fun experience. And then Sunday, tossed some more dice in it's like I can't remember what the event's called, but it's you pay $30 in tickets, and you get 3 salvage boxes that you build like a quick little 150 point Alpha Strike Force for, and you play with that for 3 games that are all half hour each. So that was super fun. It was like really fast event. Ended up getting a few mechs out of it. Rifleman 2C was one of them. Very cool sculpt, very cool mech. Pardon my hair. Drafted for War, yeah, that might be what the event was called. I submitted a CSO about 2 weeks ago, waiting patiently to hear feedback. Yeah, I can't divulge the details on that one there, Mike. Sorry there, fella. Once I block all these in gray, I'm going to very gently wash these with a black wash just to kind of fill these recesses. And then I'm going to go in and just kind of use my brush to quickly highlight all the little slats. And then after I highlight those, I can go ahead and gloss varnish. I'm just going to repeat with the same color on this. I know it's kind of lazy, but I'm also kind of working for speed and efficiency here. I don't want to be painting these forever. I do have a lot of other things I want to get painting, so these are actually not at the top of my list, but I wanted to indulge the viewership, so I'm definitely going to be putting out a post in the next few days, probably Monday or something like that. I'm gonna kind of gather opinions on the next thing that folks want to see me paint. I do have a number of things. I have some mechs, Also have some Warhammer 40,000 stuff. I've also got some Warhammer Fantasy stuff by way of Battle Masters box set. I've also got some terrain and buildings that I've got primed and base coated. So definitely interested to see what folks would be most interested in seeing painted. Just waiting to see what I need to fix or not. Oh yeah, we'll get if you know, again, I can't allude to any decisions or critiques, but you know, whether people get picked up or not, there's feedback. So you'll definitely know if there's areas that you need to fix. My Stones Lament for Southern Assault 4, nice. I wish I could come down to more of those Alpha Strike events. It's just so fun tossing dice against, you know, well put together forces that other people have, you know, spent weeks or months, you know, mulling over for force list building, and then, you know, they eventually slap together an army. There's one dude I faced, I believe his name was George or Charles. I'm terrible with names sometimes. Totally apologize. He was a very nice dude with longer hair and glasses that I played against in the BattleTech Championship circuit, and he had a very hard to deal with Draconis Combine force, and man, I definitely underestimated the Peregrine VTOLs that he had. He had 2 of them, and they were extremely hard to deal with, just super annoying. So very, very cool, you know, just seeing the compositions that people come up with, and it was just fun dealing with stuff that, you know, I hadn't built or painted, because the only people I played Alpha Strike against are my wife and a few friends. So yeah, it's definitely cool just to toss dice with other people. And Southern Assault and some of those other events, WolfNet, definitely seemed like a good opportunity to do so. Alright, I'm going to come back to this. This is basically dry. I'm going to go ahead and add in some wash. I'm just going to use a little bit of the Vallejo Black Wash. I'm just going to thin it with a tiny little bit of water, like 1 or 2 drops. Yeah, 2 drops. It's very handy having a pipette like this that you can get very accurate amounts of water or mediums or anything added in. Yeah, definitely highly recommend using pipettes wherever possible, or wherever necessary and reasonable. Go ahead and just kind of slop it up. My daughter Kamina is being very feisty right now. You can hear her in the background. She is just giving my wife all manner of grief. As always, there's a running joke in my house now that when Daddy streams, Kamina screams, because literally every stream that I've done, she just decides to be very fussy. Maybe it's because she's Daddy's little girl and you know, misses Dad, but it's I definitely find it comical, but I also feel bad. Get my head out of the camera view. mentioned Suge there, or met Justin Hall and Suge there last year. Been hanging out and chatting ever since. They were big motivators at CSO. Nice. Yeah, they're good dudes, man. We have a little private group chat that we shoot the shit in frequently. Me, Justin, Eric, and another dude, Alex from CSO. Yeah, we share memes and talk shit about each other and the world, and yeah, that's a good time. Good dudes, definitely appreciate them. Yeah, Suge, he might have had the best looking miniature on the diorama table this year for Gen Con. His Savage Wolf painted up in Fifth Sword of Light colors was pretty nice. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and apply the wash to this one now that it's dry. Oops, quite a bit on my brush there. Excessive amount on my brush. The top side here. Go ahead and hit the other side. Luckily this is fairly thin, this wash, so, and I'm not applying it in a crazy heavy amount, so it should hopefully dry relatively quickly. Clean it up along that edge there. Alrighty, just gonna go ahead and set that down. Okay, I've already applied a second coat to this for the varnish. I'm going to go ahead and apply a second coat to these other ones. I am going to go ahead and add just a little bit of the gloss varnish. Big little bubble right there. And then just a little bit of water. Add like we'll just do the 2 drops for now, so that applies. It should be thin enough. Rather add not enough and have to thin it down more than thin it down too much, and then I gotta add more varnish to the mix. It's just wasteful. Yeah, this is good consistency. I'll coat everything nice and evenly. Having gloss added on before you apply your decals is just a really nice thing, because you have a very smooth surface to apply them to. And if you go ahead and use like a solvent to kind of soften the decals and get them to conform to the surfaces, like Microsol, Microset, having the gloss just really helps kind of hug the decal to the surface. And helps to prevent you from getting like bubbles underneath. It's not perfect, you know. I've still had decals where I had just pesky bubbles that kept forming underneath. Just maybe it was just a subpar decal print or whatever, but or maybe just an awkward shape that I was trying to apply a decal to with a big panel line or something in the middle. That happens, but generally speaking, the gloss varnish just kind of mitigates that significantly. And then adding the gloss varnish over top helps seal them. So then if you want to apply any like pin washes or anything like that, you can. But even just in general, it just helps to, again, that smooth surface seals the gloss, or seals the decals in gloss, and kind of smooths over the edges of the decal on the surface of the miniature. And gives it the same finish, and then applying the matte varnish over top of everything else afterwards, just everything is the same consistent finish because you've already applied the gloss over top of the decals to give them the same finish as everything else. Just kind of building consistency in the layers. This is pretty good. I'm not going to do anything else with this. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. Hit the top first. Really going to wick it out of those recesses. Going to focus on the sides here. Again, just kind of working to blow away all those bubbles. So I definitely don't want this to dry with bubbles. Once dry, especially if you applied matte varnish, it would look like a kind of a white little nub. It's just not nice. Then you have to kind of scrape it off and paint over it. It's annoying. That's probably good. Let's get that in frame for you. Here, and then I think by the time I finish that one, this one and the blue one will be ready to go. I can start applying all my gloss. I'm just going to go ahead and wick some of that away, so hopefully that dries just a little bit more quickly. Just going to go ahead and check this one quickly as well. Again, this is just kind of me being attentive to these things as they dry, just trying to check on them. All right, I'm going to go ahead and apply some more gloss to this. Probably have an excessive amount, but this is all I will really need for this. Just kind of wick away all of the excess, and I'll spread it over the rest of the panels. Literally going to kind of wick some of this off and just wipe it on my paper towel, because I really don't need all of this. Bubbles, kind of touching off a little bit of excess with my finger there. Nice and shiny, and it should stay nice and shiny as it dries. Most of the sides here have actually dried already. That's exactly what we want. Okay. This guy's just about dry. I'm going to go ahead and just gently, quickly highlight the little slats, the individual slats. Go ahead and kind of mix a little bit of that basalt gray with some of the black gray. I don't want to do just the straight up basalt gray because it'd be quite a stark contrast. Back my head out there. Straight lines on like the bottom half of the slat, just really trying to focus on not covering the entire thing, so I can leave the dark line on either side, which is essentially that recess that we applied the wash to darken. Slightly. Not my cleanest work, but it does the job. Especially, you know, this is just again just a tabletop piece. Trying to get this more centered. brush doing weird things. Had a bit of a fray at the end of it, just cleaned it up. Max concentration right now. I'm using all 29 of my brain cells to focus on motor control here. I do apologize. Ape think slow when ape work hard. There we go. Just very gently highlighted. Still keeping them dark. But yeah. Go ahead and quickly go ahead and do these as cleanly as I can. Whoops, picked up a little bit of moisture from the wet palette there. I'll go ahead and darken this slightly. Okay. Let's see if I can just adjust my light slightly. Mix was a little bit brighter this time around. Gray seems a little bit brighter than the other side. Not necessarily the worst thing. It's just won't be consistent, which I'm not a big fan of. I try to darken my mix just slightly as I go here. Dealing with a little bit of light reflection, kind of messing up with where I should apply my next strokes here. There we go. Army used up my brain cells? Hell yeah, brother. I feel that. Maybe that one day where I fired off 17 Carl G rockets, where I had a lot of fun, wasn't so good for my brain. And maybe all the sleepless nights, dosing myself with caffeine and other stimulants. Okay, I'll just kind of repeat the process yet again on the blue one. Alright, I think I found the happy medium here between those two colors. These don't need to be super neat and tidy because we are going to be applying more weathering later on, but I do want to try to make sure they're as neat and tidy as possible. I don't like developing bad habits when I'm painting or just when I'm doing anything in general, but yeah, I say that as I have a Red Bull beside me, but it's also not really a habit of mine to drink energy drinks, so. Try to avoid those for the most part. Even when I'm in the field, try to just have coffee. Military police work. Ugh. No thank you. No shit, in my unit building, in my platoon lines, above our bathroom, in our bathroom, above the shitter, we have a sign that we may or may not have stolen from the MP area on an exercise a handful of years ago, and it's posted up above the shitter, basically saying that the toilet is the military police, if you hadn't figured that one out by my description. Good old infantry humor. Oh, still got the other side. This is a monotonous, painful task that I'm enduring right now. I reckon it's probably not the most enjoyable thing to watch be done either. So I do apologize for that, because I will tell you I don't enjoy doing this one bit. There's certain parts of painting that I don't enjoy, and metallics as well as edge highlighting are just parts of miniature painting I don't enjoy one bit. They just take a while and they're not fun. Weathering, on the other hand, I really love doing weathering. I love airbrushing. Doing washes is nice. I'm also not a huge fan of doing decals, personally. I just find them very tedious, especially trying to get them placed in the exact spot you want them in on a weirdly shaped panel of miniature. Especially like curved surfaces are actually pretty not the nicest to try to apply decals onto, or ones with deep recesses like panel lines and things like that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and apply the varnish to these bad boys. Oops, wrong pot. We're not everyone's favorite, but didn't hesitate to call when we were needed. Yeah, fair enough. Working on non-metallic metal right now. Nice. Non-metallic metal is kind of fun because it's a thing I'm not that good at. So there's the learning, like the fun learning aspect of it to me, but still very tedious. Which is funny though, because there's certain things like painting canopies, which can be pretty tedious, that I really enjoy. Same things with certain weathering techniques can also be fairly tedious, like manually chipping, stippling with your brush and doing scratches and stuff. It's very tedious, but I find it very organic and very cathartic, and I really enjoy doing it. But yeah, I don't know, I guess people just have their things that they enjoy doing and don't enjoy doing. It just is what it is. Is what it is. end here. I am going to have a sip of my energy drink shortly here though, because it's probably room temperature by now. And warm Red Bull is not great Red Bull. Alright, go ahead and set this down. Top side's already starting to dry. Hydration check. Look at all those ingredients. Slop it up on this guy. I really like how the color turned out on this with the wash being applied. Just makes the blue look way more aged, less vibrant, which I really like. All that fade. Back in frame here. Okay. Kind of wick some of the excess off the ends here. Getting some of those bubbles. Okay. That one's good to go. And I'll go ahead and apply the varnish to this one as well. So I'll go ahead and apply some decals to certain areas of this thing. There goes my daughter screaming on the stream again. You can kind of see how the using the I mean, now that I've applied the gloss, it's kind of harder to see, but on the bottom half using that contrast paint kind of kept some of the basic color modulation. So might try to go for realistic hues, War Machine look. Yeah, I do as well for the most part. And even civilian things, I like to have them kind of dirtied up and all that good stuff. Because, you know, city buses and city trains don't get cleaned and repainted as frequently as most people would like, I'm sure. So, okay. We'll go ahead and come back to this guy. Not quite dry, so I'm gonna let that be just for now. We're going to do a quick little hydration check here. Everybody who's on watching the stream right now, let me know in the chat what you folks are working on lately. What's your current work in progress? I want to know. Okay, I'm just going to finish this Red Bull. The current song inspired me to. Okay. Now that we've entered the danger zone within the Tron universe, I'm going to go ahead and wick some of this excess away. I would like to apply another coat, but I also don't want to end up ruining the finish that's on here right now, so I'm going to be patient and wait. I'm going to preemptively start trimming out a few decals just while I wait for that. I'm going to go ahead and grab my trusty cutting mat. I just have this kind of between my desk and the wall down on the floor. So I got a few things I can work with here. I like these roundels, the checkered yellow and green ones. They just kind of look official. I don't know, they just have a weird official look to them that I quite enjoy. And we're also going to use some of these graffiti decals. Obviously some of these are fairly large. I'm not going to be using some of those, but some of these smaller ones on the right side of this one, maybe like the big B, and then some of the ones on top here, kind of the top third, minus like this tall guy right there. Those will be cool. So I'll keep those out, keep these out. I definitely got a lot of warning signs here. These are fighting pornographic decals right here. Probably add a few of these. Also got some just general warning signs and caution signs, danger signs. Pardon me. I've also got some just hazard stripes. I don't know. I don't think I'll, maybe I will use some number decals. I'm probably going to use the hired, or the higher, like the stenciled ones here. I'll probably grab, I have just straight up white ones and black ones. I'll probably just grab some of the white ones. We'll just do that. I don't think I have anything else in here. I have a ton of, I keep them all in little card sleeves, that way they're protected and I can just shuffle through them. Just helps to keep them safe, because these do sometimes have a tendency of getting kind of scratched and damaged if you just leave them loose. It is delicate decal paper, but yeah, I've got a ton of factions here, some of which I've never actually clipped anything from, because I had projects planned that I just never got to. Such is life. It is what it is. Alrighty. Go ahead and zoom back out slightly here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my blade. So on the, I'm gonna have to apply another coat of varnish to this, but I have a feeling that I'm probably gonna want a couple caution stripe marks. I'll probably do like a couple of these skinny ones kind of along the front sides. So I'll go ahead and cut those out. Now this is a fairly fresh blade, not completely fresh. I've been using it for some model cleanup recently, but it is still relatively fresh. Without trying to completely obscure your view with my head, my big dumb head, I'm gonna go ahead and make a cut. Just going slowly, applying a decent amount of pressure. And just like so. And even with these decals, like I'm trying not to apply too much pressure with my fingertips, because the oils from your fingers will actually, over time, start to erode the images. It just, yeah, you know, it's very small, sensitive images. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of leave these on the cutting mat, just up here, kind of in that top 2.5 inches. What else are we gonna throw on there? Probably like, I'll do some of those. I'll do a couple of these roundels. Probably do like one of the checkered ones on either side, on kind of that square panel. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do my little top cuts. Okay. Now these are not like Games Workshop decals or things like that where the actual decal paper is kind of within the boundaries of this square. The whole square itself is decal sheet, so cutting as close to the edge of your image as possible is kind of advisable. And do we have any other warning signs we want to add to this thing? Maybe? Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll wait and see. Flatbed. Definitely gotta add some stuff to this thing. I'm gonna add a couple warning signs, because why not? Probably do the red ones just to contrast well with kind of the yellow stuff that's going on. Do we have anything over here that might be nice? Yeah, we have a couple of those blue danger marks. Let's use some of those. I think I'll do like 2 of these kind of slightly larger red warning signs, or they say danger. Danger, danger. Part of my head, just trying to make sure. I have to lean forwards a little bit just so I can make sure that I see this better than I was seeing it. And so I'm kind of thinking I'll do one of those red warning signs on like kind of one of these, like one of the ends, and on the other end I'm going to do one of these blue danger markings, just because it stands out quite well on the yellow background. And then I'm just going to apply them to either side. So I've got two of those, and 2 of these I'm going to cut out right now. And then I think once I cut these out, I'm going to quickly check those 3 cars that I need to apply a second coat of varnish to, and see if they're ready for another coat, because I reckon that they're probably dry. Gonna keep those with that. Keep that one with those rather. Alright. Slide that over. Boom. So that'll be for this guy right here. We don't need to do crazy amount of decals for all of them, but at least a couple per. For these guys, I'm probably going to do something similar with this, but I'm going to do it with different colors. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the ones for this. So I'm probably going to use yellow, the yellow danger signs, as well as where are the other ones? Here they are. Some of these warning signs here with the little caution stripes in them. I think that'll be a good choice. I'm just going to kind of keep these ones just slightly separate. Just kind of them in little groups like this. That way I kind of remember which ones are which. I'm going to go ahead and kind of plot this back over here. Just to kind of keep these a little bit more organized. This one's kind of harder to see, so I'm going to have to be careful. This is because it's the nature of it being bright yellow on this like pale blue, almost white background. Or I guess pale blue, basically light gray background. Alrighty. Let's see how that goes. The nice thing is, because these are going to be weathered cars, if some of these decals don't, you know, they're a little bit damaged or whatever, so you can actually, here, I'll show you what I mean by your fingers can actually damage this. This was already like this, but this was from some time ago when I was cutting out a number of these. I had my finger pressing down on the sheet, and that's what it did. It literally damaged and, you know, basically stripped the ink in the decal sheet there. So definitely be careful. Like if you have gloves, which I don't have any nitrile gloves right now, I need to pick some up. That's actually not a terrible thing to wear when you're handling these, especially if you're cutting out a number of these. Yeah, it'll just help you avoid ruining some of your nice decals. I'll go ahead and place that there. And yeah, I'm gonna go back to, oops. I'm gonna go back to this guy. I'm gonna go ahead and apply another coat of the varnish. Pretty good on this one. I don't want to apply the varnish too heavily. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this one. This one seems like it's slightly more dry than the blue one. Try not to focus on these recesses too much, because they are still, they already have quite a bit of varnish in them. Just add a little bit of water to my brush before I add the varnish, just to kind of thin this out slightly. I think just the dryness in my air right now is starting to leach some of the moisture from my mix that I have in my pot here. It's starting to dry out slightly. Just a little bit thicker than it used to be, which is making it apply in a bit of a streakier fashion, or at least it was briefly, until I added some water to the mix. Now it's starting to smooth itself out and self-level, which is what you want in a gloss varnish. It should kind of self-level. Sometimes you just gotta thin it out in order to get that result. Add just a little bit more water, touch that, and hit along the bottom edges and the sides on this side. Alrighty, I think that car is good, and I'll go on to this one, and we will be done with varnishing, and we can finish chopping out all these decals, and then go on with applying them. And once they're applied, we'll again kind of apply some gloss varnish. Probably be able to get away with just the one coat, just to kind of seal the edges. I'll really focus on the areas where the decals are themselves rather than the entirety of the miniatures. So we'll go a little bit more quickly. And then Once those are sealed, I'll have to brush on some matte varnish after doing a bit of an enamel wash, although the enamel wash will take a little bit of time to dry. Okay, I think that car's good. Go ahead and rinse that out. Okay, so now we have the two tanker cars. I'm going to do very similar markings on both of them, just for kind of continuity. I might change some colors up, but you know, I want just this one to be an older version of this. So some continuity is kind of what I'm going for here. I think I'll probably pick a couple of these roundels. Maybe I'll probably do these ones, and then it'll be kind of like just like, I don't know, like some kind of hazard marking, I guess, for like a specific type of fuel or gas, and then I'll probably add some danger markings and whatnot. Go ahead and move my varnish mix over here out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out kind of one for either side of each of them. So I'll cut out 4. I'm thinking I'll probably do one of the larger ones. I guess not the medium-sized ones rather. I'm going to do all my horizontal cuts over the decals first here. Over and under. I guess over and under. Totally based on perspective here, but you know. Try to get my head out of this. I'm realizing now that whenever I do decals not on camera, I probably hunch like a gremlin over top of my desk to make sure I'm cutting in straight lines where I want to be cutting in straight lines. Probably not with good posture in the slightest. Whereas generally speaking, when I'm painting and doing stuff like this, like I have pretty good posture right now, and I try to keep the good posture throughout. But I don't think I keep good posture when I do decals. It's definitely something I'm realizing. Unfortunately, these like explosive hazard signs are black, so putting them on those won't be good. However, I do have these like little text boxes with the little X's, and these other little text boxes I'll probably add one of each to a side, and I'll probably find some other warning sign to apply to the other side. Let's get to it. Go ahead. Agent Fritz, thanks for the follow. That over to that one. And cut this bad boy out. You know, I'm gonna do a couple of these arrows. I think they say rescue, but you know, even when I put these up to my eyes like this, it's really hard to read them, so they're just going to basically have a nondescript verbiage. Wizard Germ 191, thanks for the follow. Go ahead and add that. probably add another warning sign of some kind here. Maybe I can add one of these like Triforce diamond things, but I've already got the roundels. I'll try to go with something a little bit more aesthetically different. I'll probably just do some straight up danger signs. I think those are probably good to go. Danger, danger. There we go. Alright, I think we're probably good. We don't need to overload these with warning signs. We're going to be adding some graffiti and stuff to them later on, probably actually right after we add these. But I want to add all the warning signage first before I start cluttering things with graffiti. We've got these 2 cars left to do. Maybe we can do those, some of these bad boys on there. I'll probably do some of the yellow ones. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do 1 per side. That'll be the marking. And then we'll add a couple warning signs, just because it's a very, very volatile train. It's got all the boom boom. As I'm trying not to damage all the decals here, I'm just kind of trying to keep my my fingers to the sides of the sheet. That way I'm not actually like overlapping the decals themselves rather. Kind of doing a scalloped cut around here because I can't actually see the edge of these triangles at this distance because my eyes suck. Let me go ahead and add these over here. Looking at the decal sheet, I don't think I cut across any of the decals, which is nice. Thankfully I'm not wasting any. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add some of these blue danger signs just because they stick out. Actually, I'll do a blue one for the green car and then a red one for the blue car. I'm just going to do 1 per. I'll probably add like the biohazard signs. Because there's not much in the Battletech universe that I get to add biohazard signs to. And I think this would be perfect. Got some like crazy bioweapon or something on the train cars. Be great for a narrative game. Okay, yeah, let's grab some of these. Maybe I'll just do one of them with a biohazard. Maybe I'll do the other one with the radiation. Yeah, I'll just do a straight up danger sign for the other one. Straight up danger, dude. That's what I call it. Doubling down on the red for that one. Cool. Alrighty. put some of these sheets away because I'm real studious like that. Don't like having things out that don't need to be out. I do have these caution stripes. I'm just wondering if I should add them to more things, but I don't think I need to. Again, I don't want to over clutter these because I will be adding graffiti to some things. Alright. Numbers. I'm going to go ahead and find a spot to add numbers to this. Probably just going to add one of these smaller numbers per side here. I'll probably do just a random number like 74. Doesn't need to be anything special or particular. I'm going to go ahead and do these side cuts on either side of the 7/4s that I'm taking out, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut those out in one swoop like so. Go ahead and put those, oops, with that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put my knife cover on. Not quite done with the decals because we do have the graffiti, but I want to apply all these first, and then I'm going to worry about what graffiti decals I want to use after that. But for the time being, just a clear clutter. I'm going to go ahead and put these back. I'll leave the, actually just to clear more space, I'm going to put these on top and just put them back in the drawer unit. Okay, now you folks will kind of get to see how I do this. I like to keep kind of a droplet group per miniature. So I just apply my drop of water directly to, I'll do kind of 2 drops per group. I'll do 3 for that one just because there's some longer decals. And I'm just going to push those into the drop there. Just like so. Now I'm going to kind of flip some of these decals right side up just so I can see them before they soak enough to where they can slide off. That's pretty good. And just flip this one up. Okay. So now I have all my decals kind of in groups in their droplets. They're soaking up that water, so I'll be able to kind of gently slide them off their backers. While those are sitting, I'm going to go ahead and grab, I have my little cubby unit. I have just a drawer for my microset and microsalt. I'm going to go ahead and, because I leave these open, I use sticky tack to affix them to the cutting mat. Just kind of press down and twist like so, and that way I can literally unscrew them. Like that's how well they're stuck on. That way if I gently bump them, I'm not going to spill the whole thing. If you knock it hard, it will, like I'm hitting it reasonably hard, it will eventually fall over. But for that initial bump, you're always kind of safe. And I just have a sponge swab that I use to take away the excess. And this is just an extra bottle that I have. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the brush that I was using for kind of the basic detail work and the washes. It's going to be the brush I use for my decals. Go ahead and zoom this in slightly. I'm going to pick up one of these stripes first. Just going to get that on my fingy. And I'm going to see if I can gently kind of wipe this off. Seems like the decal's damaged. That's actually not the end of the world. place them side by side if I need to. Oh, that's not working out how I wanted it to. That's okay, I'll just cut another section for that one. That one just kind of fell apart. Maybe it was just on a section that got manhandled a little bit too much. Or just handled in general a little bit too much. Try to get my pinch on the end here. And I'll try to get my brush underneath and kind of pull it up. Just like so. I'll apply it just to the one side. And this one's slightly damaged, but it will work just fine. For our purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just get a little bit of water and add it to my brush just to help this slide over the top of the gloss. I'm going to slide this back kind of so it's almost flush with that panel line, just a slight gap. I'm going to go ahead and I wiped this on the paper towel and I'm just going to kind of wick some of the moisture. You can see that's sliding around slightly, so I'm going to kind of support right back here and I'm going to just very gently press. That's just going to kind of wick some of that moisture away using the sponge and the swab, and I'm just kind of pressing it flat against the surface, just like so. Now I will have to go and cut one of those other stripes, but that's okay. I'll do that after. I just have decal literally stuck to my finger now. I'll go ahead and set this down. I'm going to go take the lid off the microsol and microset. Oops. I'm just going to quickly drop my brush into the micro set. This isn't a crazy oblong shape that I'm applying the decal to, so I'm not exactly worried about softening this too much. If I was, and it was a weird shape, I would probably use the micro sol first to soften, and then I would kind of do this process where I'm just going again and gently tamping this down even further. And now that's like super snug and firm against the surface, and I can just leave that. I'm not going to touch that side. I'm going to let that cure and set because that decal is super soft now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rinse that brush out that I just used, and I'm going to go to the same pile of decals. I'm going to grab one of these roundels. Got a decent amount of water on my brush, so that came off nice and easily. I'm going to do bottom left corner is a yellow quadrant. Let's kind of remember that for the other side. Again, just trying to keep it consistent. And I'm just going to put it on this square panel. Just kind of gently nudging it to the middle. I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna remove the water from my brush and kind of press and suck some of that excess moisture using my brush to wick away. Whoops. And now I can tamp this down. I'm gonna be very careful not to press on that. And when you press down, be very careful not to press and slide your sponge, or else you will end up displacing that decal. You might even fold it up on itself and kind of ruin it. So be very careful and just kind of you press gently. You don't need to press hard. I'm going to go ahead and place that other decal on the other side. Again, trying to keep the continuity, so the yellow is going to go in the bottom left quadrant, just like the other side. So that's the neat part about circles and patterns, is you can kind of turn them on their sides. I don't actually have the sheet in front of me, so I don't know which side is up on the sheet, but this is the side that I'm making the upside on this one. Go ahead and just, again, be careful, and I'm gonna kind of tamp that down. And it stayed centered, that's good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and, again, wick some of this moisture away. I'm gonna gently dip the end of my brush in the micro set. I kind of use the rim of the thing to kind of pull some of the excess off. Just gonna paint on a very thin layer over top. Just gonna let that sit for a short period of time. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of tamp that down one more time. Cool. And that's good to go. That'll set as it dries out completely. Good to go. And for the numbers, place the numbers on these forward, kind of squarish, rectangular-ish panels. I think they're rectangular. Yeah, they're more rectangular than square. Just like so. Very gently tamp that one down, and we'll hit the other side. The nice thing is, once you start, you kind of get to this process, or part of the process with decals, you can kind of hit a good stride and kind of work through them relatively quickly. But I find when you're picking where to put the decals and figuring out which sizes and where you want to place them, it's just, that's always a tedious, creative step. Or it can be anyways. I find it tedious. And I'm just going to go ahead and my brush has already been kind of wicked. I've already had the moisture wicked off of it. I'm going to go ahead and apply a bit of that micro set over top in a very, very thin layer, so it kind of soaks into that decal. Let that sit for like 10 seconds. And then I'll go ahead and tamp it down. Just like that. Boom. Alrighty, so with that car is done, I'm going to go ahead and go to this one, and so yes, this is the one. We chose the red danger signs as well as the blue ones that don't have the backer or border. Go ahead and we'll do these ones on the, from our perspective, the left side. Pull this down slightly because I don't feel like it's perfectly level or even. There we go, that's better. That's good. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up one of these blue danger decals. It actually fell off the paper as I was trying to grab the paper, so that worked out just fine. So it ended up on my brush. Take some of that excess off my brush, push this down, pull the excess off the brush again, and I'm just going to gently push this over slightly. Maybe just back slightly so it's about the same distance kind of from this vertices as this one over here. It's kind of hard to determine that. I'm judging based on where the letters are, not the border of the thing. I think that's probably perfect right there. I'm going to go ahead and tamp that down. feel like I have a relatively level eye when it comes to doing things like this. So I'm pretty good at judging, pretty good spatial awareness, and pretty good at judging if things are plumb. How long does a mini or mech typically take you? It really depends. Really depends on the level of detail I'm looking to put into it. Like, I would say on average probably around 10 hours for like kind of my average work, my average level of detail. If I really go hard in the paint, sometimes it could be like 20 to 30 hours per miniature. I've got a few that are like that, and then I've got some that like they're actually relatively well detailed, but I've painted that scheme numerous times, so I have like the process down, and I can knock those out in like 5 or 6 hours a piece. Corner there that's kind of lifted. I'm just going to try to fix that. It's like folded under itself. It's always annoying. Sometimes you literally have to kind of turn it upside down on your thumbnail like that, and then you can kind of go back to it just so you can unhook a little corner that's folded underneath itself. It does happen. Just sometimes, just folds under itself and doesn't want to cooperate. You gotta teach it who's boss. Gently tamp that in place, and we'll go ahead and hit this last danger sign on this one. These are nice because they just say danger in very nondescript text. So at arm's distance, you can't even really tell what it says until you pull it real close. So these could mean anything, which is nice, and there's not too many of them. So, on a flatbed like this, there wouldn't be a huge amount of warning signage, I reckon, unless there was something significantly dangerous on it, like munitions or explosive chemicals or caustic chemicals or something like that. Fuel. Or maybe, biohazard if it's just pallets of dead bodies coming back from the front, who knows? That's where my morbid brain goes. I'm gonna add just a little bit of water to try and tease this around a little bit because I'm having a hard time pushing this away from that edge for some reason. Just trying to get that even with that line. I think that's about good actually. I'm gonna go ahead and tamp that into place. Trying to be careful not to apply any pressure to that thing. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and apply just a little bit of the micro set. I don't remember if I did it on this side, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it on this side. I'm gonna go ahead and tamp them all down. If this side had already received some, it's just receiving more. It'll just take slightly longer to cure, not a big deal. But I wanted to make sure it actually received some of the setting solution. And that should be good. These are flat surfaces, so the micro set should be sufficient. Shouldn't need any of the micro saw. All right, another car down. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the other flatbed. So we've got some of these, just the warning signs and good shit like that. I'm going to kind of keep the theme. I'm going to put the warning sign with the border over here. And then the other danger sign without the border will go on the other end. Oops, try and pull that down slightly. Oops. Even enough. Signs, it's really hard to see. So this is actually supposed to have a lot of small text below it, but it seems like some of that, most, if not all of that small text is kind of worn away, but that's okay. Because now it just makes for a nice, unique danger sign. Let's tamp that down. So I'm going to take the mental note that I haven't put on the setting solution on this side yet. That's totally fine. I'm just going to go ahead and get these other decals in place, and then I'll apply it all at once. Good enough is good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. There's the other danger sign. And I think a lot of the small text on this one wore away as well. I can kind of see the remnants of it on the decal film itself, but that's okay. At least both sides match. That's a happy accident right there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wick all the excess moisture off this brush using a paper towel. Get some of that micro set, just a very small amount, and I'm gonna go ahead and skadoosh. Oops, and I actually pulled this one down slightly. Leave that there. I'm going to try to press this into place. Go ahead and hold the sides here, that way I don't have to hold the other, the opposing face. Good enough. Now these cars have some basic warning signage on them. These will actually be a lot more visible once the gloss has gone back to matte. Gloss has a funny way of kind of darkening everything and making things a little bit more rich, but also harder to see in certain lighting conditions. So. But like, especially that blue on the yellow there is going to pop really well. Once this is all matte, everything kind of brightens back up. It's going to look really nice. Clan trains, no warning signs. Nonsense. They need to know what's worth taking if they challenge some logistics core to a bash all. Right, okay, we're going to do the tanker cars next. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and grab, we're just kind of doing the same thing on both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this roundel. I haven't actually decided exactly where on this the roundel is going to go. We'll determine that thusly. Right there. It's going right there. Oh, and that folded underneath itself on the corner. Just gonna fix that quickly on my fingernail. It's upside down. I kind of unfolded the corner from itself and then picked it back up just like that. And now I'm gonna place it right side up. Back down there, nice and smooth. Just kind of on one of those center, not center ribs, but the thicker ribs rather. Just on the side. Go ahead and tamp that down into place. Just trying to be very gentle as I kind of apply direct force to it, that way I don't cause it to slip out of place. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and apply that one to the other side as well. And then I'll move on to the next decal type. Just trying to keep that continuity, a little bit of symmetry, wherever it makes sense to me. good. I think that might have slipped slightly. Just kind of looking at it, and yeah, I think it slipped slightly. It's just not quite level. There's that small vertices in the red. I'm just noticing that this side here isn't at the same, like, isn't at a symmetrical angle to the its opposite side. That's better. Very, very small thing, but you know, for me it would drive me nuts because I would notice it. Well, I mean, I already did notice it, so I would know it's there. Has to go. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and place this cool little text box. I'm gonna put the X on the bottom. I think that makes the most sense. There's a lot of excess moisture there. I'm just gonna kind of wick that off with my brush. Now this is obviously very bright and clean in comparison to the like the rusty kind of metal below, the rusty finish below, but that's fine. When we go ahead and do more weathering on this, it'll buff. We'll get it to have some continuity with the rest of the finish. Weather the decal, if that makes sense. Okay. Pick up this other warning sign here. I'm just going to go ahead and place that there. There we go. Okay, this lovely little rescue arrow thing. If I can actually get this on my brush. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna place it on top here. Just like so, kind of towards that central cap. I'm gonna try to get this kind of flush with, like centered off and then flush with kind of this imaginary line across here. Try to angle that more than like kind of across that imaginary line there. All right, go ahead and I'm gonna apply the microset to this one first, just because this will need a little bit more setting time or softening time. Go ahead and apply some pressure to these sides. And then this one as well. And then to the top side. I'm going to really press down on this one because I do have those little recesses that it's on. It's not quite on center now. I just pushed it off a center. I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of moisture on there to tease it back into place, but probably not because the setting solution was already on there for a bit. We'll see. Get underneath the edge of it, not just slightly, but I think I'll rip it. So I'm just gonna call that good enough. Somebody was drunk on the job when they put that arrow down, because it's not quite centered, not quite straight. That's okay. Good enough at arm length. We'll go ahead and apply decals to the other one. Again, good enough is good enough. Things don't need to be perfect. See if you folks can see the big hair that I have stuck in the side of this. You can kind of see in the middle here as I rotate it in the light. There's like a small little textured ridge you can kind of see, as well as down on the side there on the bottom. But no idea how that ended up in there, but it's gonna live in there forever. It's gonna live in that paint job forever. Go ahead and pick up the other roundel here. Little X text. Some really intense decal application music right now. Stuck in there. Try to get that out. There we go. Oh, and that slid out of position. It's a good thing I hadn't added in the setting solution. Let's see if I can get that to stay in place. Should be good. Go ahead and grab this danger sign and apply it to the opposite side. Wizard Germ, what's going on, buddy? Tamp this down on one quick little go here. Make sure it's still centered. There we go. Alrighty. Do this last little arrow on this silly car. I was gonna say a naughty word, but I held my tongue. Not that naughty words are not allowed here, but apparently Twitch doesn't like when you swear on your streams. I don't really, I guess I kind of understand that one if they're trying to have it open to all audiences, but, come on. A little bit of adult verbiage never really hurt anybody, I don't think. Especially when it's done in good taste. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and apply the setting solution very gingerly and conservatively. Make sure it's on the top there. Okay. This side as well. Almost done with these decals. Feel nice once this step is done. Kind of carry on with the graffiti, which shouldn't take long, and then we can quickly varnish these and carry on with our lives on the other details on this guy specifically. Kind of want to get to that point by 10 p.m. That way the last hour of the stream I can just kind of focus on some of the fun details, try to do some of these side windows, kind of show a fun little technique for those, smash those out quickly. Yeah. Alrighty, hydration check. My throat's dry, I'm sure yours is. These are kind of for terrain, these are for like functional terrain. So I have a monorail set from Brigade Models that I use on my table. Sometimes, sometimes it's just a showpiece just to add ambiance, or I use it as an objective if I'm doing like an escort mission or something like that. It's always kind of fun to have a train that moves like X amount of inches every turn, and you got to try to stop it, that kind of thing. Or if you're the people trying to get it from one side of the table to the other, just got to get it from one side of the table to the other. But I have passenger cars right now that are fully painted and look great, but I wanted to repaint all of my freight cars because they were painted several years ago and they didn't look that nice, so wanted to have them look nice and pretty. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add on the decals for this one. Once I do that, I'm going to quickly, once I apply these, I'm going to quickly apply varnish to all the areas that the decals are, just to seal them in place. And then from there, we will take a very quick break, just so I can go to the bathroom and top my water up. And then we will crack on with the last bit of the painting. Once I apply the gloss varnish to seal these, I'm going to apply some ultra matte to the lead engine car. That way it knocks the shine back before I go ahead and start working on the window panels. It'll just help with the overall appearance, and it'll actually help with paint application as well. It'll keep things from running unnecessarily and getting frustrating and all that good stuff. Or all that bad stuff, rather, because being frustrated is not fun. I don't think anybody enjoys being frustrated while they're painting. I'm going to do inverted triangles because that's just cooler. It just looks more feature tech in my head canon anyways. Boom. Get that last one slapped on the other side here. Set solution. Try not to load too much onto these panels, that way I don't end up lifting the decal and moving it around. Just enough to kind of cover and give a good shine. Just gonna let them soak in, do their magic. I'll gently stamp this in. Just trying to be careful not to put my finger over top of the one there. Those are good, and we'll hit this one. The edges on this one were quite lifted, and now they're a lot more flat, which is nice. Sometimes just the edge that you were cutting with creates like little frays in the decal film, and then those kind of stay lifted after you apply the decal. So that solution just helps to soften those little burrs and kind of smooth out the edge of the decal, which is really nice. So that's looking pretty good. One left. One last train car. Kind of keep the continuity again. on each side. The top left will be the little inverted Triforce here. This one is not wanting to stay put. I'm going to try to tamp this down right now. Seems like this decal was damaged slightly, so it got like a fuzzy top right hand corner there on the triangle, but that's okay. It's going to get weathered a little bit later on in the paint job. We'll do the cool biohazard placard there. We'll fire this up right there. Try to take some of that excess moisture so it stops sliding around. There we go. Go ahead and oops. It's a good thing I haven't applied that set solution yet because I need to move this over slightly. Get a little bit of water on my brush. Get the brush underneath, and then I can kind of push it back over. Now, if you are a patient person, you can apply your decals like this, kind of get them to where you want, and then you can just set your miniature down and let it dry, and then the decal will stay in place, and then you can kind of press it down with a damp Q-tip to make it conform and then apply your set solution. But I'm trying to work quickly here, so that's why I'm kind of tamping this down as we go and working very quickly. Okay, that one's good. I'll go ahead and pick up this other triangle and apply it to this side, and then I'll apply that last danger sign. Caught on the edge of my thumbnail for some reason. I don't know why. Super weird. And I've got a couple corners here that don't want to unfold themselves, so I'll unfold them on here. Seems like I might have nicked one of the corners on this triangle. Either that or it just came off in the water, but I think I probably nicked it. That's okay. I'll just have to creatively weather that area, which is totally fine. I can just dirty it and scratch it up. And then you won't even notice, or I won't even notice. Which is really what I care about. I don't care if anybody else notices, I care if I notice. At least it seems like most of the text below the blue danger actually stayed on this one. I'm not sure why the other one did on the one car. Tamp this down. There we go. Okay, now we're at the point where we're going to apply our set solution. They will be normal triangles if a mech kicks that car upside down. Yep, you're not wrong. Like another thing I want to work on eventually is probably some more blast markers and things like that. I have like the classic like tea light candle things with the little switches and cheap watch batteries inside them that have like a bunch of like polystyrene stuffing kind of hot glued onto, so you turn them on and they kind of glow from the inside. They're decent, but I wouldn't mind some like cool 3D printed ones that I can insert a tea light or an LED on the inside of. That way I can paint it up and have it look all pretty. Okay, all of these decals are applied. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out slightly. I'm gonna cap these off because I don't need these open anymore, and I don't want those solutions just evaporating into the air, because that's just money lost, and the potential for knocking them over is not non-existent. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those all back. I'm gonna go ahead and put my contrast paint right back on the shelf there because it doesn't need to be on my desk. And I'm gonna put my knife away as well because the knife doesn't need to be out. Just clean it as I go, folks. Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of gloss. Just a wee bit. I'm gonna thin this just slightly. No, I'm gonna do it with the pipette because that's just more accurate. I'm gonna add like 2-3 drops. Okay. Do this. No, we'll do the flat brush. Stir that up. I'm just trying to blow some of these bubbles out of the varnish that's in the palette here. Get a little bit on the brush, kind of wipe some of that excess off, and I'm just going to gently wipe over the decals. I'm not going to go over the entire miniature. I did forget I need to go ahead and grab another one of those caution stripes. I'll have to do that quickly. Just going to seal these decals in place, just like so. I'm going to quickly go over, actually before I continue, I'm going to quickly cut out another one of those caution stripes because this job is not finished. I'll probably worry about adding more graffiti next time, just so we can move on to doing the windows on the other car here. Oh, need my knife that I put away because I thought I didn't need it. Joke's on me. I'm gonna try not to damage the decal. It's a bit of a trying task here because this decal sheet is starting to get pretty vacant of other decals. Over here and drop a little drop of water on it. This should take no more than like 30 seconds ish to soften enough so I can pull it off with the decal sheet. Should be done with my knife now. Alrighty. Pop that back in here for now. Alright, I'll go ahead and rinse that out. I'm just going to grab the micro set because I don't think I'll need the micro saw. Pull that ball of sticky tack off. Uncap that. I'm going to go ahead and pretty sure this is probably good to go now. Sit just a little bit longer. See if I can get just a little bit more water on top. And see if I can just keep gently stroking this while it's in the water until the decal slides off the sheet. This is really taking its time to to not be stuck on, I'm just going to go ahead and add one more drop of water. See if I can slide it with my finger at all. I can, okay. So it just needs to get coaxed off. There we go. See if I can kind of lay it upside down on my fingernail. There we go. Sometimes you gotta finagle decals this way. It is very annoying. It's just the nature of the beast. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the decal this way so it's kind of opposing in terms of, I want the angle of the lines kind of going up and to the right. I'm actually, yeah, we're just gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna have it the same. And I'm gonna go ahead and push this back slightly so it's got a similar gap as the other side. Seems pretty close. Whoops. Back in position. It's pretty close. Oh, I think that might be perfect. Yeah, that's going to be about perfect. Go ahead and grab that little swab. Okay, go ahead and apply the set solution and just wait like 10 seconds. Does not take long. A lot of people recommend waiting 30 seconds to a minute, but I honestly, like, at least with these Fighting Piranha graphics decals, I don't find you need to as much. For the Death Ray design ones, I find sometimes they need a lot of micro sol and you gotta let it sit for a little bit, but just because they are a thicker decal paper, or thicker decal film, but for these ones, you just don't need to wait long. They soften really, really quickly. And those are good to go. I'm gonna leave this and quickly seal the other decals, just because I want that, whatever remaining set solution that is there, I want it to completely evaporate. Just gonna kind of take off some of the excess because I don't want like stuff pooling like crazy. Kind of got a little bit of an excess on these ones. That's okay. Just make sure it doesn't pool. Set that one there so now that one's done. Do this one. Just gonna kind of do along the sides. Top and the other side here. Go. Decent. Okay, that's pretty good. Probably go back to this one quickly, just because it's probably evaporated enough. cover that. I'll go ahead and just do one more quick coat on the other ones, just to make sure that those are sealed. And just got a couple left to do here, and then I can go ahead and apply the matte varnish to the engine car once the gloss is completely dry. And that matte will kill the shine very quickly. Spread it all over the side just because I had a bit of excess. Should be good there. Just a little bit of excess on the side here. I'm just going to kind of pull that away so it doesn't create any like weird pooling effect. Should be good. Just in between those little nubs on the ends. Just a little bit pooling just because of surface tension. Those are all pretty good to go. Nice. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and quickly wipe all these away. Put them onto my little paper towel here so they're out of the way. These are just all the little bits of paper from the decals themselves. I'm going to quickly wipe up this excess varnish that's in my little palette here. Just going to fold that over so I kind of contain them. And I'm going to toss this one out afterwards. Just going to do that because I'm done with the gloss for now. I'm going to quickly toss this out, grab another piece of paper towel, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw some Ultra Matte inside my little pot there, and then quickly brush the engine car. Oh, I need my paper towel here. Go ahead and take away this go ahead and take away that cutting mat. Okay. Just realized that I had a massive wedgie, so I fixed that. Probably more information than you folks wanted, but information I was willing to share. And, you know, information's ammunition or something like that. Alright, so this is just going to be AKA Ultra Matte varnish, and this is, I don't need to thin this at all. This is super thin. I don't know if you can kind of hear that on the microphone, but this is super watery right out of the bottle, so you can kind of see how thin that is right there. So I'm just gonna, I've got like 6 or 7 drops or something like that right now. I don't want to put too much so I don't waste any, and I'm just gonna go ahead and apply it to this thing, just using the same technique. I'm not looking for a perfect finish on this. I just want it to kill enough of the shine that I'm not going to have crazy glare like this, as well as provide a like rougher matte surface so paint will adhere well when I start working on these small details. At the very end of everything, I'm going to do a mix of satin and ultra matte to kind of get everything to the same finish. This is just kind of utilitarian right now, what I'm doing. This is going to go on pretty thin. I'm going to have to wait a few minutes for it to dry, and then carry on from there. I'm probably not going to have any graffiti on this thing. It's also one of the reasons why I'm applying the matte varnish now, is I'm not too worried about keeping this glossy for more decal application. The other cars, however, the freight cars, I'm definitely going to add some graffiti to later on, probably during the next session. I think the next session will be the one that we finish the trains in. Just trying to blow on this a little bit to kind of speed up the drying process. It is very thin, so it's actually kind of working. You can kind of see it's not quite as shiny as it used to be. I'm definitely going to need to apply another coat. I just want to try and get this coat mostly dry so I can apply another reasonably heavy coat, and then we'll take a quick like 10-minute break. I go top my water up, among other things, and then we'll come back and crack out a couple of details on this before we close out the stream. Because I've done a lot of large batch painting things, and I'm sure some folks want to see some detail work. So. That is mostly dry. I'm going to go ahead and pick up some more of this matte, ultra matte varnish. Kind of slap it all over this thing. Oh, and I have a hair trapped in my varnish. Let me pull that up. That could have been nasty. Let me make sure I get the back here. I don't think I did on my first pass. Now the nice thing is with that gloss over top of the decals are actually pretty well protected. So when I do start doing some basic enamel work later on, it'll actually keep the decals from getting eaten through with white spirits, as that can happen if you don't seal them. So definitely if you're going to be doing any oil washes or enamel work over top with white spirits involved in the mix, definitely make sure that you seal your decals, or else you run the risk of just eating through them and ruining them. At least with these Fighting Piranha Graphics ones. I can't speak for Games Workshop ones when it comes to enamels, but I reckon it would probably have a very similar result. Okay. Starting to dry. I'm going to go ahead and set this down. We're going to take a like 10-minute break, and then I'm going to come back and we will finish up with some detail work on this thing. Stay with me, folks. 10 minutes and we will be right back to it. it's loud enough. And we'll drop the music. Alrighty. And we're back. Okay. So drop the voice volume slightly. There we go. Alright, I've already kind of double checked a few things here. I'm just going to go ahead and put my headphones back on. So, this is mostly dry. The Ultramat did its trick and killed most of the shine on this, just aside from a few areas where the Ultramat went on a little bit thin. So again, it was just kind of the quick 2 coats. You can see kind of an area, by this back door there that's still a tiny bit shiny, but that's totally fine. I'm gonna go ahead and block in the windows with black, and then I'm gonna start layering up. We're gonna make these look like they're kind of lit from the inside, like you would see on like a subway at nighttime or in the early evening, or early mid-morning. Yeah, looks pretty convincing. There's ways that you can kind of use this exact same color palette just to make these windows look like they have reflections. But I kind of like that lit from within look. Just looks right on something like a train car like this that would have passengers of some kind. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and take my number 2 brush. This is my detailing brush. It's a Marta Kolinsky from Ammo by Mink. Pardon me. Oops. My hand got away from me there. I have very shallow edges to this window pane, so I'm really trying to do my best to be careful not have my brush tip pop itself over the end and create like a big black streak on the side panel here. I am a bit tired and a little bit shaky right now, so I'm just taking my time, making sure that I don't make a mess. It's a good song for taking your time. I do actually have a window pane on the other side that is essentially non-existent. This is a bad cast, evidently. So I'll have to kind of basically draw my own kind of oval, rectangular oval shape here on the other side. I pretty much always fill in all of my details with black first. It's just a nice, like, base color to work from. It just kind of helps you build shading right off the hop, because you just don't fill in the areas that you don't need highlights with your color. So yeah, so here you can kind of see what I mean by there's not really good definition around that window pane, whereas there is right here. It's very evident. There's essentially none here. It's just a really soft cast, unfortunately. But that's okay. Working with what we got. I'm not going to get upset about it. I'm just going to go ahead and try to be creative and draw on essentially this shape that I'm filling in right now. And it'll at least help because I'll have a good reference to go by right beside it as I'm trying to trace it on. But again, I am tired and I'm a little bit shaky, and I'm honestly not the best at drawing straight lines. As far as painters go, I'm actually pretty mediocre, I think. Maybe that's just being hard on myself. Okay. There's kind of an edge that I can follow here. Just gonna try to draw the outer edges here. Try to define my end boundaries. That went pretty well, actually. Okay, let's see if we can repeat the same process on the other side here. Kind of, yeah. Ain't good enough, you know. Like it'll do the job. And got away from me there. I'll have to clean that up a little bit of basalt gray. Oops. Let's get this in frame here. Got lost in the sauce, just staring at this thing. Probably just slowly started bringing it closer and closer to my face. It happens. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in these. I really gotta fill in the door color on these as well. I'll probably do that quickly before I carry on with the windows. Just because it just kind of feels weird not to have these doors blocked in. I think I did them in teal on the other one that I have. I'll have to take a look. I think they're in teal. I think I'll probably do them in teal as well. This teal is just a nice color. It's one of my favorites. Alrighty. Let me go ahead and grab some Sotek green. I know that you're like, Sotek green? But yes, this is a teal color. But it is in fact called Sotek green. Strange, I know. Fill that in, and then I'll probably add just a little bit of Temple Guard blue. And then I'll kind of be the highlight color, but I actually, so I don't know if you can see that, but I have, I'm gonna zoom that in. So I actually had some varnish with a bubble dry in here, and this is why you don't want bubbles. So I wasn't diligent enough, and I have a little bubble that dried in there. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and kind of scrape that out gently. I might just use my fingernail, because I'm a goddamn renegade. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get some black gray, and I'm just gonna do this, and I'll kind of hide it that way. See if me adding this in helps as well. Oops, let's get this in frame here. one. So I'll have to go through and check some of the other cars and see if I have any bubbles that I missed. I'll have to quickly touch those areas up before I continue with any work on those. Yeah, it just happens when you're you know, you're slopping it up with a big flat brush and a bunch of varnish that's been thinned down slightly. You just you're gonna get some bubbles. Some bubbles. It happens. Sometimes you get them all before they dry, and sometimes you don't. Quickly fix that a little bit. There we go. There's my quickly sketched in. Fill that top area of that with a little more black. There we go. That's better. It's not perfect, but she'll do. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ignore the doors for now. I'm going to go ahead and grab, which color was it? Yeah, it was this one. So this is Great Coat Gray from Formula P3. It's a very heavy blue gray. It's a dark tone. There's really not much left in this bottle. It's very thin. Kind of mix it a little bit better on the palette there. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to kind of sketch in kind of most of the window. I'm going to do both sides here. Just keeping within the bounds of the black. And I'll kind of focus my color more towards the top half. And I'm gonna kind of pull in from the sides, so the highest concentration is in the middle of the pane. Do the same down here. Just like so. Go ahead and repeat the same process on the other side here. Just get a little bit more paint on my brush here. About good. I'm going to go ahead and fill these tiny little windows. I'm going to kind of poke this color in, and I'm going to kind of pull a lot of the color down to the left of those little portholes. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab, so this is actually called Heavy Blue Gray. This is by Vallejo Game Color Extra Opaque series. I really love this paint. I think it's been discontinued, which makes me super, super sad, because it is a fantastic, like darker mid-tone, like cold gray, and it's just a really, especially if I'm painting white, it's kind of like my base gray that I use over top of my actual base color, which is usually Great Coat Gray, believe it or not, and then I layer up from there. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this, kind of some of this excess. In keeping with what we were just doing, I'm going to kind of keep my brush strokes primarily keeping the color in the top half. It's coming in a lot brighter than I was expecting, actually, not gonna lie. Kind of fucked that one up, not gonna lie. Here, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna erase this. So we made a mistake here, and that doesn't feel good. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Just gonna go ahead and scribble black over top of the stuff that I didn't like. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that Great Coat Gray. Kind of blow on that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add my Great Coat Gray. Just a little bit more of that Great Coat Gray. Cool. So you know what I'm going to do instead here? I'm going to do something that's more blue. I think this is just an honest mistake because I haven't done this in a little bit. I'm going to do I'm going to do Wolf Gray first, and then I'm going to start moving into the mid-tone grays. This is what gives the really cold tone to it. Go ahead, add this in. I'm going to add just a touch of that heavy blue gray into the Wolf Gray. Just kind of sketching here, and again I'm kind of keeping my focus on the top half of this window pane as well as the middle. I'm trying to increase the brightness value as much as possible in the middle there. Just kind of building right now. Honestly, like the scratchier this kind of looks, honestly, the better, because you're going to be layering all this up with multiple layers. They kind of blend together slightly, and it just kind of looks like a dirty, dingy, banged up window that's, you know, got some reflections and a little bit of light shining through. Over to the other side here. Hit this window. Some just pure Wolf Gray, and I'll kind of reinforce this existing layer. I'll go to the portholes with just this as well. Try not to fill the entire thing in. So, go ahead and repeat the same process over here. Just Just really focusing on the top half and the middle. Really focusing on that top edge, especially. I'm gonna go ahead and grab just a bit of that wolf gray, and I'll apply it into these little portholes. Kind of pulling downward. I'm gonna just to vary things up and create a little bit of contrast. I'm gonna put the bright light area kind of towards the bottom of these portholes instead of the top. Not necessarily because that's realistic, just because that's what I want to do and I think it'll look interesting. Just as a contrast to where the highlights are on top, beside them. Sometimes being a little bit counterintuitive, creating that additional contrast just helps a little bit. Alrighty, now I'm going to go ahead and grab some of this light gray. I'm going to go a little bit brighter, pump up the contrast. I'm going to add just the tiniest touch of the wolf gray into this light gray, just to ease the transition a little bit. Really trying to keep this within the bounds of the previous layer. I have thinned this down just a little bit. Just kind of tapping in the middle there, like basically stippling, just because that's kind of the easiest way to gently apply some of this and have it kind of look scratchy and uneven. And scratchy and uneven just kind of makes it look a little bit more realistic, honestly. These things aren't perfectly smooth, especially when it comes to glass. Filling in the lower bit of the previous layer. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of the, I'm gonna go one shade brighter. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of the sky gray, or sorry, the white gray. Boom. This is the airbrush color, so it's pretty thin right out of the bottle. Makes it nice for mixing and blending. Don't have to thin it down too much. I'm just going to add a touch of the light gray. Mostly light gray though. Take off some of the excess. Should be fairly bright, which will be nice. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. All of a sudden, it just kind of, you can kind of see where this is going. I'm going to add an actual little bit of like pure white to this eventually, but I'm going to keep cracking with the white gray. I'll go back to the portholes in a minute here. Just gently stippling there. Okay, just gonna get a slight bit more. just gonna stipple right near the bottom here. Part of my hair. The song feels so serious. I don't know why. I don't even know what the song this is. But I feel like I'm going through something. Do you feel that too? Oops. Okay. I'm gonna have to add a little bit more of the matte varnish just to kill the shine toward the end here, just so I can kind of observe this just a little bit more accurately. But I'm just gonna add a tiny little bit of a edge highlight to the paneling, just down here, because I have a little bit of the black that kind of crept onto an area where it shouldn't have, and it looks obviously uneven. So I'll fix this as well here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I hate that this is such a bad cast. Doesn't help that I'm not good at drawing, but you know, just see if I can kind of fix this a little bit. Try to get this just a little bit more. Try to just tidy up this little edge. Basically just try to clean up some of the shape on this window because it just looks super jank. It still looks kind of jank, but less jank. It is what it is. At least I already have a nice engine car, pilot driver car rather, whatever you want to call it. Just touching up the bottom of that little porthole. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some pure white ink. I'm gonna add just a little hot spot. Whoops. Knocking this camera around quite a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and put the hot spot of white and just the brightest areas on these windows, as well as like a reflection dot on the portholes. Just gonna go ahead and kind of pull some of that excess off, just so I got a little bit on the tip. and add like some tiny little white reflection dots, these little portholes on the doors. One, two. Just tiny little guys like that. Just a little touch. There we go. Those are like perfect. Doesn't happen that often on the first try, but you know, today it worked out. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and add like some gentle scratches to those windows that have those little light sources. And you can kind of see like this is just very gentle and kind of realistic if you were to like see this train moving fast at night or something. Or in like, you know, like low light. It just looks good. Alrighty. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of this white gray. And I'm gonna try to get this really, really thin. And like, I want fine lines like that. I'm gonna go ahead and just like pick a couple areas to very, very faint markings. Rinse that brush out quickly. See if I can get this knot shining in the light like crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and scratch out this right side window just a little bit more because they're not quite as pronounced. Just want them to show up just a wee bit more. Touch up the bottom edge of that. So it doesn't have the line extend all the way down at the very bottom. There we go. Those are pretty good. Nice and even, relatively anyways. But even only in terms of like the amount of scratches, like the scratches themselves aren't even, which is nice. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process on the other side here. Again, going for similar but not the same. Same but different but still same. If that makes sense. I'll have to touch up the very bottom of that window, but it's okay. Add just a little bit of moisture to this. I love testing on my thumbnail just because it's you know, closest thing on my body to plastic, so. Lines aren't as thin as I would like. I have to kind of be careful with this next application. Make sure I don't overdo this one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab just a little bit of black ink, and I'm going to go ahead and touch up just kind of the bottom areas. scratches extended just a little bit too far. Alrighty. Pretty good to go. Pretty happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and just get a touch of ultramat. See if I can paint it over just those windows and get it to dry relatively quickly, just so we can kind of see without all this shine. Just kind of getting it in there as quick as I can. Got a little bit of excess on this side that I can just kind of pull away over to this area. And this should, don't need a lot of this to kind of kill the shine on these areas, I don't think, so. May as well hit those little portholes. Sorry, I'm kind of doing this out of frame from you folks, just because I'm trying to do it quickly. I just want this to dry. We'll go ahead and zoom out a little bit here while I try to get this dry. So, just as a recap, got through all the decals on these minus graffiti. I'm gonna go ahead and do that probably on my own time before next stream, and I'll see if I can seal all these and get a little bit of enamel wash on them, just to speed up the process so we can work on the last few details next time. But yeah, coming along pretty good. Pretty well, however you want to say it. My grammar ain't so good when I'm this tired. Boom. And the rusty boy. Kind of bang up some of those decals and whatnot, make them look like a little bit more weathered and dingy, so they actually kind of match. That'll be one of the later tasks. Okay. Alrighty. Seems like a lot of this matte varnish is dried. Zoom this right in. So you can see like kind of that lit impression. A little bit of glare on the windows, a little bit of scratches, some dings. Pretty simple. I've done this on a number of buildings, and I've done it also on some ground vehicles. I'll paint them with maybe not quite as big and bright highlights, and it just kind of makes it look more like there's like glare from the sun or a light source as opposed to it being lit from the inside. And it works pretty well on vehicles for that reason. I also really like it on the other train cars that I have. They're pretty much all painted like this, just in terms of how the windows look. Yeah, this side turned out particularly well. I'm probably going to go in and I'll touch up this right side window. I feel like there's not enough mid-tone in there. It just kind of drops off from the really bright tone to kind of dark in that bottom right hand corner, so I'll probably glaze in just a little bit of the bluer gray, that wolf gray, and that should clean that up really nicely. Boom. I'm gonna go ahead and hop over to my PC and take any final questions for the night, and we will close out the stream because we are getting close to the 4-hour mark. Bear with me, folks. Alrighty, folks. So, got most of the way through the trains. Still got probably another 2 hours of detail work left on them. Potentially a little bit more, depending on how bougie I decide to make the windscreen of the train engine. I went pretty bougie on the other one that I have for my urban diorama. I did like a full-on mirror reflection. I might do that on stream next stream, just because why not? People like seeing chrome non-metallic metal or sky earth non-metallic metal, so I might do that. That might be fun. That might become the focus of the second half of the next stream. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it in the first half just to kind of, keep viewers from dozing off, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put a post on my socials in the next few days. Just kind of putting up a poll that you can vote on, just to see, once I finish these train cars, see what you folks want me to paint next. Got some options for you. Anyway, stay tuned for that. I'm going to go ahead and close out the stream. Seems like the chat is quiet. Nothing wrong with that. Hope you folks enjoyed your time this evening with me today. Looking forward to next week's stream. My name is Zach. You've been watching Arclight Miniatures. Happy little painting session. I bid you adieu. Have a good night.